Man Talks, Masculinity and Vulnerability. Take one.
Good enough.
Yeah, close enough.
Forgot the Human Now podcast, but it's
the
alright.
Human Now podcast.
It wasn't written on the thing. It is. Oh, mate.
It's on there, mate.
Good man, do it again, read it.
It's the Human Now podcast with
Human Now Podcast. Man Talks, Masculinity and Vulnerability. Take one.
what a take two.
How's that?
technically.
Oh,
Yo, again. Right, we good? Russian? You guys?
Yeah, we're good.
You mean? Sweet. Hello and welcome to The Human Now, where we are discussing ideas around what it means to be in this state of time. My name is Akash and today I'm joined by Minesh, BG, or who we call Bhavesh, Rahul.
Well, we call him
Rahul.
BG.
We
His
call him
name is
BG,
Bhavesh.
yeah.
My name is
I was
Bhavesh.
saying that and I was like, wait, that's the other way around.
It's rapper names, BG.
Yeah.
Street name.
Street name. Straight from the streets of Dale.
Dale State.
Sweet. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, good.
Good, man.
Good.
Good.
It's the first time that everyone's seeing Rahul and BG on the podcast or listening to them on the podcast. So
Two noobs.
we will start with the good old Human Now introduction question, which is, do you scrunch or fold?
What?
Yeah.
Scrunch
I'm
or
sure there was
fold
a
what?
there was
Seriously?
No, I'm kidding. Scrunch, I think.
scrunch.
To you.
Man, I'm a folder.
Yeah.
You gotta keep it neat.
Scrunch it.
You guys are monsters.
Damn right.
All right, sweet. So today we want to talk about masculinity, male vulnerability, and what that means to us, how we've grown up, just ideas around it. So we've had Rash come in, this BG's wife. She's talking about feminism and what that is, what equality is, that whole like. But then there's also this other conversation we can have between men
Yep.
and the issues, or not really, just topics and discussions that we think are important or that need to be had.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Sweet. So, yeah, we can start with the video that we've all watched as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was by that was with Justin Baldoni, who's spoken on a TED Talk earlier this year about male vulnerability, and he's also got these videos that we watched with a bunch of guys, probably his mates. They talk about masculinity and vulnerability, what it means to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a good place to start. And if we could just start with what it means to you guys. What is masculinity, or what does it mean to you guys?
I think first of all, like initially, masculinity when you're growing up is just about like, don't be a crybaby, There's like certain rules, like guys only play with guys, and you sort of have to be in that sports thing and be tough and tumble and fight with the boys and things like that. And then as you grow older, it sort of evolves from that. I think like in that talk they were talking about when we were real young, kindergarten and stuff, boys and girls, there's no difference. Like we never saw a difference. Boys, girls, race. We never cared about that stuff. And then sort of when you get a little older, all of that changes. And so I think masculinity, first of all, to me, is just, it's a made up concept. It's a social concept that we've adapted through our environment and through what we've learnt and seen, and we act a certain way because of that. We see ourselves as male, and hence we should perform in a masculine way. So that's what I think masculinity really is.
BG?
Yeah, when I think of the word masculinity or being masculine, it's about, the first thoughts that come to mind is like being strong, being tough, not showing emotion, in a way, and I guess as Rahul just said, it kind of does change as you get older, and then as you get older, it's more about like being a provider and being a protector of your family, and they're kind of your responsibility. So that's that for me. Like that's what kind of masculinity is like. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's just being strong and tough, and yeah, that's kind of like the first two things that I think of when I think of masculinity.
Yeah. I think that's how everybody's grown up
Mm.
as knowing what masculinity is, isn't it?
Mm.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's just something that's very, very like you said, be a man, being tough, being strong, playing sports,
Yeah,
all that sort of stuff is just very, very just
Muscle.
Yeah.
Like
Big, tall,
big,
strong,
yeah,
protector.
hardy.
Yeah.
yeah. And you actually made a good point. Like as you
Yeah.
get older,
Yeah.
being a provider and being
yeah. There's that.
being that like that side of things as well is actually what you define as masculinity as
Yeah.
well.
Mm.
Mm.
What or something I was thinking about today
Mm-hmm.
was there's three of us who have grown up in a household with women, but you've grown in a household with a lot of guys.
Yeah,
So what was that like growing? What was it like for you to grow up in?
just being I guess pretty much most of my life, most of my childhood. I guess the only I was surrounded by men, surrounded by guys. I guess I guess you do have to in a way you do feel like you have to be tough, and I felt like there wasn't anyone that you could go to be vulnerable or like kind of talk to like or share your feelings or or thoughts like that, because it's not something that you tend to talk about with other guys, like well, back then anyway. And then when I think back on my childhood, like when you like I remember vividly like when you're playing and like you fall down and you hurt yourself, and then you're saying, "Yeah, man, don't cry,
Yeah.
you know."
Yeah.
And it's just like things like that, and and that's like kind of what you think about when you think when you think about your childhood, and there's not many times where there's not many times or instances I can think about where I was like expressed any emotion. Like it's not that I didn't have it,
Yeah.
but it's like there was no real outlet like or anyone to talk to about it.
Did you have to consciously think about that though as well? Like I can't do this or I can't.
I wouldn't say I consciously thought about it, but there's just no outlet,
Yeah.
or there's no one that you really talk to about it. And then I guess because, well, I think a lot of guys my age, you don't see them, so you don't see other guys, expressing themselves and stuff. So it's not like a norm. It's not like normal. So you're just like So this is you just think okay.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, that's just how it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Like I think
Growing
just moving on from that, like I didn't grow up. In fact, I grew up with hardly any guys around
Yeah.
me. I had mainly girls, but school was very different for me.
Right.
So I went from a primary school where it was a co-ed thing, and most of my friends were girls. I had a few guy friends from the sports I played, but most of my close friends were girls, and I could open up to them, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that opening up and being able to express myself. And but then I went from that to an all boys Catholic school where everything was very strict and very rigid, and there were specific things you're supposed to do as a guy and as a man. That was a real rough transition for me. And like BG was saying, he had no one else to go to. Like, so although he didn't have his brothers to talk to as well, sometimes school's really good where you can escape from that, and you don't have that judgment of your family or whatever looking at you. You can actually talk to someone. But when I went to an all boys school, it was almost like the guys that did that were looked at as feminine and gay,
Pussies,
and pussies, and they, at the time we grew up, a lot of people were homophobes. Like, gay was a bad thing. Like, you did not want to be gay.
Yeah.
So those boys suffered a lot, and just because of that, I was too scared to do it. Just because I didn't want to suffer the same fate.
You don't want to be a
I was
target.
scared. I didn't want to be a target. I was already a target. Like. Growing up, I was really tough. I was smaller than most of the guys. I wasn't as aggressive and tough as everyone else was. And so I had to learn very, very quickly how to, one, shut off my feelings, and two, try and act tough. Because I was never really tough. I just had to act tough, and I almost put on this this whole facade, and it made me very angry, and I was always an angry person after that, and I didn't realize why until I moved here. And I met like some of these guys, and I kind of learned. I was like, "Oh man, you don't have to be like that, you know.
Yeah.
Don't have to be angry to be a man. You don't have, you know, that toughness. For me in my head just became anger. You know, like this is kind of what you see on TV is like, you know, you saw those angry wrestlers, and you saw like, you know, that big action stars. You know, oh yeah, those are men. That's you know, that's tough. That's manly. So you want to be like that, and yeah, it's really weird. Like you never think about that when you're there, but subconsciously you kind of do. Like you were saying, like subconsciously, like, okay, you can't cry. You have to be tough. If someone hits you or pushes you or whatever, you just can't. You know, you have to hit them back. Even like fighting. Like I hate fighting, but sometimes I just did it because I was like, oh, I have to show that I can fight. Otherwise, I'm just going to get picked on all the time.
Yeah.
So there's all of that in there, and it's it can really like scar you, I think, until you have people you can talk to about it. And I think everyone has those sort of little moments that they have to be men, such.
Yeah. Minish?
What was the question?
What was it like growing up for you? Like you and masculinity?
I think like in terms of like masculinity, I grew up with probably a lot of strong women. All the cousins were obviously very strong.
Yeah.
So, but I think with the rest of like my life, like all the other parts of their life, like school and stuff like that, you do have that pressure of being a man and being tough and all that sort of stuff, right? And because I was always small as well, like I guess like there was a lot of stuff that I sort of thought about that was like, okay, I have to be a man because of this, or this is how I have to be a man and all that sort of stuff. Don't cry and don't show emotions and all that sort of stuff. Like I've never really been good at like expressing my emotions. I think that's one of the biggest things of like this whole like the masculine thing that I probably took on as a youngster, you know, like just not being able to express my emotions and stuff like that. And I don't know why, because I was surrounded by a lot of girls as well, you know, like that, and probably had the opportunity to do so, but I just never did, and I never was good at it. You know, even to this day, I'm like really bad at like expressing myself.
So even as a kid, when you had I guess females around you that you could talk to and open up to, you still didn't?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I don't know why. I don't know if it was what it was. But yeah, probably I didn't as much as like up until probably quite recently, like in the last 10 years or something like that, you know, like uni days sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think even for me growing up, because I grew up in a house where there's me and dad and then 3 other women. But even like, I'm just going to say Bruce. It's easier. I just want to call Bruce. So even with Bruce, like he was always just like loving and he showed emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like even now he still shows emotion.
Yeah.
So I think growing up, I knew that you didn't have to be. I don't know. I think I was confused as well.
Right.
Like there'd be that group of friends like at school, or everything external from what I'm seeing at home is like this.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, do I have to be like this?
Yeah.
Because the exact same thing you're saying is like everything else you're hearing about other guys saying other things about other guys who are like sensitive or they're saying how they're feeling. It's labeled, oh yeah, you're a wuss, or you're gay, or you know, and then you're like, I'm just trying to say what I
right?
I just want to say how I feel.
Yeah.
And like that's normal because it's usually received with love.
Yeah.
And that's kind of funny because like when I think of your dad, I wouldn't think of him as like, you know, being feminine. Like, yeah, he's like this. I still think of him as macho, but so it does show that you can be like, I guess, considered like a manly man, but still have emotion.
Yeah.
I don't know,
feelings.
And I think it's like you're saying, like it's just natural to like express your emotions. Like what's the first thing we do as kids? Like when you can't talk, you know, like you've just had a baby, like, you know, so like when they can't talk, what do? They just cry, right? That's an expression
a
of
lot.
their their unhappiness, right? That's how they're expressing their unhappiness. And so, you know, that obviously, you know, and then when they smile, you know that they're happy. It's like, it's very simple when you're a baby, and it sort of just gets complicated because you're complicated in your head and your external factors complicated. But when we're like, if at the core of us, we want to express. I think that's just what humans are. We're creatures of expression, and that's why we have such magnificent art, you know, like movies and music and paintings and these discussions, you know, like
Yeah.
that's why I think we're made like that. And it's almost like, I don't know whether it's society or what it really is, but it feels like all of that needs to be suppressed with men, especially. Like women can just go out and, you know, you can see them all the time and they congregate together and they'll talk about their feelings, but not necessarily want opinions on why they feel like that. They just like to talk about it and express and go, oh, this woman has pissed me off today because she did this, and then she said, oh, I understand. You know, it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't ever do that. Like we come back from work and it's like, even if you had a hard day, it's like, oh yeah, it's all right, mate.
Yeah.
That's all good. Like never want to actually talk about like, man, this dude really like, you know, like why are people doing this? Like we never talk about that stuff. And I think
Why? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think it's just seen as being vulnerable, like, and vulnerable equals weakness. For men, for some reason.
Do you guys agree?
Yep, I'd say so.
Yeah.
That's how society sees it. That's how we
It's perceived to be, yeah.
yeah,
Yep,
correct.
that's how we're
It's the
trained
perception of
to
that
think.
Being vulnerable is
Yeah.
weak.
Because it's like it's like I think in that video they talked about it's like for women to like talk to each other like and talk about their feelings. That's like a feminine association. So there's no negative connotations to
Yeah.
women expressing their feelings to other women, but because it's like thought of as a feminine thing, like if guys did it, it's like, oh, you know, what a wuss kind of
Yeah.
thing, you know.
What a girl.
So you're challenging your masculinity if you were to do that in a sense. Whereas for women, it's not a challenge of their feminism, or it's like more normal for them to do that.
Is that something you guys... Is that like something that you guys feel is happening to you right now as well? Or are you going through that? Is your like, not right now in this room,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, yeah.
just, you know,
At this
in
point in
this
our
point
life.
in your
Yeah.
life?
Yeah.
What is your relationship with masculinity like? Or actually, yeah, masculinity and vulnerability.
So I think for me, like the big thing for me is like just being able to express myself more and just like talk about my feelings more. You know, I've never been good at it, and I don't really do it that often. So I think that for me is like a journey that I've probably been trying to go on for the last wee while. Yeah, and I think that's how I'm trying to redefine like, you know, vulnerability as well. Is just like to tell myself that it's okay and to get good at it as well.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's kind of been up and down. Like, so I started off quite expressive.
Yeah.
And I used to be very like vulnerable. I should share all my feelings with a lot of friends and family. And I got burnt a lot. And so I shut off a lot as well. And I'm at this point now where I'm trying to get back into doing that, but I'm also trying to be quite self-sufficient. So I used to be very reliant on other people's opinions and other people's like other people's opinions on how good I was. Whereas in the last, I'd say 5 years or so, it's been more of I want to be more self-sufficient, but also I don't want to shut off. So there's that fine balance you got to find where you find your happiness within yourself, but then you also kind of still want to interact with the world, and the only way to do that is to be vulnerable and expressive, and people will connect with you, right? If you're not doing that, people are not really connecting with you. And I mean, luckily for me, I've got a great group of friends where whether I speak to them once a month or once a year, it doesn't really matter, because we've formed those bonds over the last 8 to 10 years that it doesn't really matter. Like, we're all on the same page anyway. So and that's been good. So if I did have a problem, if I did have an issue, I'm not scared to call people. And I know which friends of mine will be very helpful in which situations. And I think that's the key. If you don't get to know your friends and you don't have these discussions with them, which we've had, like, you know, over late night Denny's after, like, you know, like we've had some of these conversations where we've never really like thought of them as deep, meaningful, crazy conversations, but we really have. And that level of trust that we've built out of that, I think it makes it a little easier for us to talk to each other, even though we may not do it as often as we should, I think. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm at this point in my life where I'm quite comfortable doing that. And I don't know, I think I'm pretty good at like being expressive now.
Mm-hmm.
BG.
What was the question again?
So, what is your relationship with masculinity and vulnerability like
Yeah.
right now?
Right now. I think what I like, if you think about like even like for like macho guys who wouldn't call themselves vulnerable, if you think about like your closest like bros, usually the ones that you're closest to are the ones which you've gone through something with, or
Yep.
that you've gone through something, you've gone through tough times together, or you've happened to have expressed yourself and connected with. And then so even if like you and your bros are very macho, it's usually the ones that you're closest with are the ones that you've kind of gone through something with emotionally, or had to overcome something, or or you've confided in, and so that's something that I've kind of noticed, because there like growing up, I had a lot of friends, and there would be guys that I knew like all my life,
Yeah.
but I wasn't like, and even though I've been close to them all my, like, not close to them, but even though I had known them all my life, like there would be other guys that came along, and they would have a much better relationship or friendship, and even though I've known like this person longer, because they were able to connect in a way by expressing themselves and expressing emotions, they got a lot tighter. And then I was still, and then whereas my friendship with them, even if I've known them longer, is more on the surface, because I I'm not less likely to open up or talk about more serious like emotions or feelings or thoughts and things like that. So I think it like not being able to express yourself and not being able to share your emotions does limit how far you can have a relationship with someone. It like impedes like how close you can be with someone.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Do you think your view on masculinity and vulnerability has changed since being a dad?
I think it's changed. It's changed gradually with time. But yeah, being a dad, like having a daughter now, I definitely feel that it's even more important now for me to be able to express my emotion, because I want to have a close relationship with my daughter, and I want her to I don't know, come to me if she has any problems with it, and I want to have the emotional intelligence to be able to like see what, like, be able to put myself in her position, and even if she may not come to me for some problems, I want to be able to pick up on things and tell that, hey, she's upset, maybe I should talk to her or something like that, or so I think I guess being a dad has made me realize the importance of being vulnerable, because if I can be vulnerable, then she may be more likely to come and talk to me, and that would deepen our relationship. Like if she's going through some tough times, I don't want her to like not consider coming to me because she thinks, dad never talks about his emotions, so I shouldn't, he's not someone that I can go to with my problems.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if that would be the same if you had a son, right? Like, would that be different? Because
that's a really good question, but
yeah,
I think I would still, I think I'd still want to be able to do that if I had if I had a son as well, because I guess like the sooner you learn that opening up and sharing helps build stronger relationships, regardless of if it's male or female.
Correct. Yeah.
The sooner you realize that, I guess, the better. And I think for me personally, it's taken me a long time to learn that.
I wanted to ask, what is your relationship like with you guys? What's your relationship like with your fathers?
Ooh. Mine was very minimal when I grew up.
Yeah.
My dad worked extremely hard. He had really tough conditions. He grew up very tough. So he never really was around. I was very close with my mother, but my dad was never really around, so I never really grew up with that. My uncle was around a lot, and I learned a lot from him about masculinity, and my love of sports really comes from him. And yeah, my dad wasn't around, but interestingly enough, when we were sort of separated for a while he was here and we were back in Zim, I think both of us learnt that we sort of needed each other more than we thought we did. And coming here, my dad opened up a lot more, and now we have a really good relationship. Like, we'll talk about stuff, and I'll help him with his business, and he's not afraid to come and ask me for help anymore.
Right.
Where, I think before that was never a thing. Like, he couldn't, like, how can I ask my son for help? It's my job to, like, provide for these people. But he's come to a point where he realizes, like, especially with technology, that he's just not keeping up, and by having me and my sister, for that matter, like, help him out is beneficial for him and the family. And so it's great to see that. And we've had deep discussions about certain things, like marriage always comes up, so like we had like discussions about that, and it's good. I can have a discussion about it, because I think before, like, if we were back in Zim, I almost imagine, like, he would have probably said, no, you're getting married now, and that was it. Like, I wouldn't even we couldn't even have a discussion. I'd have to go through my mum to get an actual, like, discussion with him. So my relationship's great now, but it's been an evolution.
Right.
I think for both of us.
BG.
My relationship with my dad, I think we have a good relationship I mean, like, we there's that mutual love for each other. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't say, like, emotionally there's too much of a, like, relationship. I think now that, like, especially when I was younger, but I think now that I'm a bit older and maybe a bit more kind of emotionally mature, I feel like I could probably talk to him about things that I wouldn't have been able to. But there's only like maybe one or two instances where I felt like my dad was vulnerable, and, like, one time was when when my grandma passed away, and then, like, that was, like, the first time I saw him break down and cry. And that was, like, and I was a kid then, and I was just like, it was just, like, so so weird. And like you were saying, like, just crying is it's just a natural emotion. But seeing that, I was like really, like, taken aback by it, because I don't know, I was just kind of like, you just froze, because, like,
You don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do. You've never seen
This is like the guy that's meant to protect you.
So I think we have a good relationship, but I don't think that in terms of, like, expressing emotions, we probably didn't really express emotions to each other in that way. And I think that's something that it's never too late to start. So I think but there's not that much. It's been very. I wouldn't say surface level. There's still, like, a deep, like, connection, but, like, a lot of things, like, are unspoken.
You just don't say anything.
You just don't say anything. Like, I'll know when he's stressed out. You know. And then I'll just be there, and that's enough for him to know that I'm here for him. But it's not like it's like unspoken. But it would be cool to be able to, like, talk about
that stuff.
Manish?
Yeah, I think the same as BG. Like, haven't really had, like, a emotional, like, relationship there. And I think that a lot of that is also, like, because I've never been good at it. Like, we've just never really opened up to each other about a lot of things, like, when there's certain areas of, like, certain, I guess, events or whatever that's happened in our life, that we talk about things and what are we going through and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know, I feel like it hasn't been very emotional. And I think the difference, I think the other thing is also, like my dad and my sister have a very emotional relationship nowadays, or maybe over the last like 10, 15 years, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
they've been good at opening up to, like my dad's been able to open up to my sister a lot. So I think that's helped given him a bit of an outlet to
Yeah.
be
Yeah, yeah.
expressive,
Yeah.
you know, because I'm not like that, you know, emotional.
Do you feel left out a little bit?
No, not really.
Not really?
Like, I don't know, like I don't, I probably should, but like,
Well, it's
like
just-
it's
yeah.
good for, like, I feel like it's good for him.
For him, yeah.
You know, like, and it's good for that relationship. It's something that's special to them. It's unique to them and stuff like that. So it's like, and it's good for him to be able to do that. Whereas if it was with me, I'm probably a lot less, I don't know, responsive, or might not be able to, you know,
Express as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
give him probably
Well,
what
I
he
think-
needs in that
Yeah,
instance.
I don't know about your sister's relationship, but my dad and my sister are the same. Like, my dad can confide in my sister a lot more than he would in me. And I'm not sure about yours, but my sister's able to push him. Like, she's able to, like, manipulate's not the right word, but
Watch out, BG.
but yeah, almost like she knows how to get through to him, whereas
Yeah,
I sort
yeah.
of struggle with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, I can do the same thing with my mum. Like, I can get her to really understand me. It's quite easy because I understand her. 'Cause my sister and my mum don't really understand each other, but my dad and my mum understand each other. My dad and my sister understand each other so well, and it's so easy for them. And I don't know. I think maybe it's this thing where, like, I know for me, it's much easier for me to open up to girls. It's way easier for some reason. Like, and I think it's the ability of them to be able to accept our emotional sort of expression. Like, I think
Yeah.
sometimes I feel with guys, I'm like, man, if I express too much, they're gonna really judge me on that. You know, like,
Have you ever felt that about us?
I think sometimes I have. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you
Um,
guys? Have you ever felt like
Yeah.
you'd be undermined about, well, we'd see you in this sort of light, or we'd judge you?
Yeah, but I don't think it's unique to anyone here. I think it's just in general.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and it's weird because, like, you know, like we're all kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
Yet we still like
Yeah.
feel like, oh, can't really express too much. You know.
Yeah, but I think it's also part of that, like I don't know. I think it's just that different dynamic. It's like you know, like I'd say for you guys, obviously in committed relationships and stuff, and I feel like that emotional connection is different because, you know, like to what you'd have with your boys, and you want that difference.
Yeah.
I think that difference is nice, where that's something unique that you can share with your partner. And whether it be a guy or a girl, it's irrelevant. But that uniqueness of that complete openness is sort of different to that openness you have with your friends, I think.
Yeah.
And and that is something that's precious and nice, you know. So
Yeah.
yes, I have felt that way, but also I think, like, if and when I find a partner, that could be some of that stuff that I'd only share with them, you know,
Yeah.
because there's almost that you've broken those barriers of judgment, you know, like after being, you know, together and understanding each other, you're able to break that. But I think the main thing, like with this masculinity and what we're talking about vulnerability, is more of the fact of the big stuff, you know, like
Yeah.
it's okay to say, man, I feel like shit today. Like, it's okay to say that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not, oh, she'll be right. She'll be right. No, it's not. It's, dude, I feel like shit today. And boys like, sweet, let's go out. Let's go to the driving range, hit some balls. You know, like do you
We
know what I
don't
mean?
even
You
talk
don't
about it.
really need to talk.
Just-
You just go, hey, bro, I just need, you know,
No, but I think you do need to talk about it.
yeah.
Like isn't it then you're just like masking it, or
Suppressing.
you're suppressing it
Yeah.
because
True.
you haven't
True.
actually addressed,
Yeah.
you haven't let it out of
The
you.
issue, yeah.
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
issue
You haven't said,
been-
yo, this is how I'm
Yeah, yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
You've just made yourself feel better for that
that
moment in time,
moment,
but you haven't
yeah.
solved anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think like guys are quite good at doing. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah.
being like, okay,
Put it
in a
off.
bad state,
Yeah, yeah,
need to do something to distract myself or to
yeah.
sweep it under the rug. You do something, and then like we actually are quite good at just sweeping. Well, I am like just sweeping it
Yeah,
under the rug
yeah,
and
yeah,
being
yeah.
okay with it.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
haven't dealt with the problem, haven't
Yeah.
done anything about it.
Then the next time it crops
Well, it's
up.
like I got
it's
too
like,
much on
I'm
my
sweet.
plate. I'll just deal with this later.
Yeah.
Let's do something else.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah, no, that's definitely.
and the next time you hit that problem, it's way bigger than the last
Yeah,
time. Eh?
yeah.
It almost snowballs every time, and you're like, it's like
Yeah.
you keep shoving stuff under that rug, and by the time you look back at it, it's a mountain. So you're going, ooh,
and
you know.
and the problem could potentially be solved quite easily, or like, you know, maybe there's someone else that's gone through something similar and has a resolution, or could give you just like that, that little bit of information that you need, or that little thing that you need to kind of get over it. But because you haven't let it out, then you're confining it into yourself and you're not solving it. And so having that, I guess, the ability to, having the ability to share a problem, like when you share a problem, you're halving it pretty much. So, and because you're not, because you don't feel like you can, it just stays within you, and then it just kind of builds up, and then it could be something that could be fixed easily, but because you don't feel like you can express yourself, it's just you only have yourself to deal with, with it.
Yeah, and I think like you guys talked about it on the previous podcast, but like there's this whole sort of like inside outside perception of who you are, right? So like I've always liked to know myself as a guy that's always fun and energetic and talkative and sort of brings like that light and that laughter to the room, even if it's at my own expense. I don't really care. Like it's just part of who I am now. I've accepted that. And so if I had to go in a room and I'm not that bubbly, excited, energetic guy, I feel like I let people down. But that's not necessarily true. Like you guys wouldn't feel that way. In fact, it's almost like the opposite. Like if I didn't feel and you guys noticed it, it'd be like, bro, let's help you out, right?
Yeah.
But then you just feel like you've created this persona and you've got to stick to it, you know. And if you're not that, then people will really like ask you, and then that's what you don't want. You don't want to be that vulnerable guy that people notice that something's wrong, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's this perception that we feel that there's something wrong with that, and so. I think, like I was saying before, when I'm trying to get to know those parts of me, so now I'm okay with being sad some days, it's okay. Everyone does it. And I think that's the biggest thing is like noticing people that are like that and just having a chat. Even like you were saying, like having a problem sweeping under the rug. Sometimes it's not even us talking to each other and me being able to have the solution, but just the fact that you're able to share it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just the fact that it's out there and you're like, man, I don't have to sit with that stuff by myself anymore. Like everyone knows, and someone can come up with a solution or someone can't, but it eases
Just
that
to let it out.
burden. and
just
that
let it out,
stress
get off
and
your
that-
shoulders.
Yeah. So much weight to carry around for
and
nothing.
for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a simple phone call or just a text or whatever. Like this, it's an easy way. Like, and that's the
Or
funniest
even
thing.
an emoji.
Yeah, even like that's the funniest thing. Is like we live in a world where communication is so easy now, yet people do it less and less and less. Like it's astounding that we always say like, oh man, if I was close to my family, I could talk to them more. Well, now you can, but
Even
people still don't.
Even if they're on the other side of the world.
You know what I
Just
mean?
a Skype call away, but still.
Yeah, but people
Yeah,
just
yeah.
don't. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's just, don't know. I think discussions help, but just got action it.
Yeah.
Anything else, you guys, regarding masculinity and vulnerability? There's so much to talk about. But
Yeah. I think one thing in that video that really resonated with me was that there's this perception as a man that you have to fix things.
Yep.
Yeah, and I always find I'm into that, right? I'm like, if my mum comes to me with a problem, or my sister, or my friends, I've got to fix this, Or, there's an issue somewhere and you got to fix it. And there's this whole mentality that you got to fix things. And I don't know, I just resonated with that because I feel like I'm always doing that.
do you guys feel the same?
Yep.
Always trying to fix
Always have to
problems.
be the fixer?
Yeah. And it's weird, like even at work, like it's not even my problem. And I'm going, no, I'm going to go try to fix that. And you're like, why? Why is it bothering me so much that person hasn't got their shit together? So I have to go fix it. Like, and I don't see it as a bad thing. As long as it's not, like we're saying, it's not weighing on you. Right? Because I think we need more fixes.
But I think in the video they were talking about it being, you're the fixer, but what happens is when you don't know how to deal with or you don't know how to fix it,
Yeah, that's
where
issue
the
arises.
issue and the trouble is,
Yeah.
right? Because then you feel down and then you feel like, oh,
it
I'm
hits you.
not
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah. And that's where the sharing part comes from.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was I don't know, it's weird. As soon as he said, I was like, oh man, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
there's a book that explains it really well.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Oh, yeah.
And talks the writer writes about that just like that. He says, "Yep, men are fixers, and women just want to talk about."
Yeah.
They just want to like let it out, and they don't want anyone to fix anything.
No, they just want to.
They just want someone to listen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like, yeah. I've definitely noticed with like my female friends and women that I've interacted with. That's all they want, and I'm like, oh, I don't know how to help you with that, and they're like, oh, we don't want your help. We just wanted to tell you. Oh, okay. Well, sweet. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. But yeah, I think for me the main thing like to remember is there is like masculinity is just a made up thing. Like that guy was saying in that video that in the Middle East it's completely different, right? In Africa it's very different. Well, the way we grew up, it's very different. Even for us as Indian people, quite different to like the European and the Western way of masculinity. So what's right? Any of it? None of it?
Back to perception.
Again, back to perception. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's one of the main things to keep in mind. And then the other thing I've seen is like more and more men suffer from depression than women, and it's a very telling statistic, especially in New Zealand, where that's a high topic issue, you know. And so I think even me consciously, I'm more aware of it at work than I ever was before, especially from the last time we had this talk as well. And I went down the rabbit hole and looking at different videos and statistics. And I always feel like I'm a very open person because I am expressive, and I always hope that people would come and talk to me. But sometimes you have to go and make the effort. And if you're in a place where you're comfortable with your masculinity and you're comfortable being vulnerable and like you were saying, like sometimes you've got to do the first thing, like you've got to be able to go, oh man, I'm struggling with this problem, and then the other person goes, oh, he's struggling, so I can say what I'm struggling with, you know. And if you're okay with doing that, then man, it can help someone, and that small thing could be so huge in their whole life that you don't even know. So yeah, just being aware of what you're saying and how you're doing things is just so, I found is so important now. More than ever, especially with this whole Instagram thing where everything looks like a perfect world, whereas no one ever shows you the bad stuff. It's always the perfect photo, the perfect caption, you know, that everything's always perfect, but everyone knows it's not.
You don't know what's behind that filter.
You have no idea what's behind the filter, and we've got to get rid of the filters, you know?
That has been addressed in another podcast.
Wow.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
There you go. So, yeah.
Or it'd actually be out by the time this one's out.
Yeah. Great song by J. Cole about that too, called Photograph.
What about you guys, BG, Manish? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I guess just like taking off from what Rahul said about with like depression and stuff being so high amongst men. I think there was like a statistic that I read somewhere that between the teenage years to mid 40s, one of the biggest killers in men is themselves, suicide. And in the same age range in women, it's men. Like, yeah. So that like so not being able to like, you know, not being able to express yourself and not being able to you know, feeling alone and you know, it seems like a very, you know, surface level thing, you know, talking about feelings and things like that, but I guess with time it can become very lonely if you have no one to share anything with. And even people who have a big friend circle but don't have that connection, you know, it can eat away at someone, and then that's what leads to like depression and suicide and, you know, all those kind of negative things. So I guess, yes, like it seems like it's at the surface it may not seem like a big issue, but it can definitely snowball into something like that. And so, which is why I guess it is important to kind of address and, you know, just get that message out there. It's, for guys, it's okay to kind of like talk about what's going on in your life.
Manish?
Yeah, I think like I think for me the thing is that the definition of masculinity has probably changed, you know, over the years. And I think like for me personally anyway, it is like there is nothing wrong with being able to express yourself and be emotional and things like that. So I think that's like just a a journey that I think it is important for like all guys, especially that have had that like that perception growing up or for that period of time where it's not good to express, and like everything we spoke about what traditional masculinity is. I think it's just like going through that process of realizing doesn't have to be like that and there's nothing wrong with doing the opposite.
And I think just one more point is that I found with me, and it won't work for anyone, but you've probably had this experience too, is like putting yourself in a position where you're uncomfortable actually makes you really good at doing that. Like I found stage acting for me was such a vulnerable place because everyone's watching you, everyone's looking at you, and you've got to perform and you've got to do your duty, and obviously a good actor is able to use those emotions that they've had and bring that out. And I think things like that, like music and art and performance, if you do have those urges to do things like that, I think it's a great way of expressing that and getting that out there. Even if you're not that great of a sharer, that can be a really good outlet for that kind of stuff. Even just getting a microphone and talking into a computer. It doesn't have to go out, doesn't have to be a podcast like this. It could just be you talking to a computer and just saying what you want. That's what's on your mind. Getting it out sometimes is more important than just leaving it in, because as you say, it snowballs. So get it out there, and then I've said it. I feel good about it, even if you're not saying it to an actual person. But there are people out there that will listen. So
I think even for me, I think what I've learned is firstly from the video and from what we've talked about is we don't have to believe in what we've been told or what we've taken into thinking what masculinity is. We define that for ourselves. And on top of that, we also have the responsibility to communicate and teach or educate other people, and just sharing to them what it is. That it's okay to talk and expose yourself to where you're letting someone else judge you or trust you, or just be as open as possible. And then in its essence, that's you being as human as you are. That is like your rawness. I think that's what I've taken away. And that you're not like being strong and being macho and all of that is like in a way you are so strong and so brave if you just say how you feel.
You're just
like everything
you,
else
right?
is so surface. Strong and machos on the surface is that big bulky but in its like true depth, I think
having the strength to open up and
just say how you feel.
It's funny, like when you said that, it reminded me of that SpongeBob program. when Plankton when he was like in that big machine and everyone was like so scared of him and he was big and tough, and then as soon as that machine broke down, there's a ton of little plankton. And it's like that's what it is, it's just this whole thing that you've built around you. But if that inside core isn't strong, then all that stuff on the outside is just dust in the wind.
Cool. Sweet. I think we got through quite a big amount, and like even like we said with Rash when she was here, there's so much
more
to speak about in terms of just anything like related to men and what we go through, anything like with Rash as well, females and what related to that. So I think we've just like with what we've done with Rash and what we've done today, we've just started this conversation. So I want to thank you guys for coming along, sharing what you had to share. That was really good. I also want to thank everyone who's tuning in on the podcast or watching as well. And also, if you are going through whatever you're going through, and you need someone to talk to, there are like agencies and there are people, there are professionals out there who will listen to you and help you. So don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like you're weak. Don't feel like you're not strong. It's just human. I think. Emotions aren't a feminine thing. Emotions are a human thing. think you've put
That's a good way to put
that's
it.
a nice way to close it, DG.
That's what I do.
Cool. On that note, if you've got anything you'd like us to speak about, if you'd like to join the conversation, please do write to us at info@thehumannow.co.nz. And another thing, if you could please rate, you could subscribe, you could share, just let other people know about this movement, about what we're doing. We just want to send out our happiness, our just what
Positive
we're talking
vibes.
about, positive
Yeah.
vibes, man.
Yeah.
The world needs more of it, or as much of it as it can get.
Yeah, just be real.
Yeah. So every like, every review, every rating, it all counts to something bigger. It's all for the movement. Sweet.
Sweet.
Cool. Until next time, be human, be now.
Almost an hour? Bro, Rahul went on for ages. I saw this guy like